Good morning, everybody. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. It's August 16th, 2024. I hope everybody's doing well. And I don't know if you could see that my phone camera is suddenly vibrating. And a very astute subscriber said that it's vibrating because it's picking up the radiation that's being directed towards me as I'm filming it, which is quite a possibility since the phone just started vibrating as soon as I started to record. So if you can see that, please leave a comment in the comment section. Well, I had a lot of horrible things happen today. My cat Amber, she's only about 8 years old. I don't even know if she's 8 years old. Yeah, no, she's about 8 years old. They have been torturing her for the better part of a year and a half. She lost a lot of weight, and I noticed the day before yesterday, she was very active. She wanted to go outside. She never goes outside. So I brought her outside so that she could sit on the grass. Now, I've seen this behavior before. She became like very, more attached to me, following me around, wanting to eat more, like all this energy. And then today, or I should say late yesterday, sometime between 6:15 p.m. and 7 p.m. because the landscaper was here. I'm not exactly sure. She passed away. She did not come to eat this morning. She was very labored breathing. She was curled up in a ball in one of her beds. Actually, the new kitten went to sleep with her, I guess to keep her warm or whatever. She was sleeping with her for a while. But it's very sad because she's young. There's no reason for her to have died. When I moved to Kentucky, every one of my cats was in perfect health. Beautiful, perfect health. Kentucky here, the people here are absolutely disgusting, and I can't wait to move from this state. But she passed away, so rest in peace, little Amber. What I'll do is I'll post a photo of her as a thumbnail when she was a kitten. My brand new wallet was stolen from my bed sometime between yesterday and today. A brand new wallet. I had it on my bed because I wanted to unwrap it and as a reminder to, take my credit cards out of one wallet and put it in another. So I didn't do it immediately. It's been on my bed for a few days. Stolen. Well, we've got a few cyber stalkers on the loose here. A lot of perps, cyber stalkers, both on Quora and on YouTube. In addition to that black and tan dog was running around my outer field today. But anyway, I'd like to give a shout out to the cyber stalker who's asking me what I think about schizophrenia after viewing my video. Well, you have been not only reported to YouTube, loser, but you're blocked from my channel. 2 of you guys are blocked from my channel. One is Chris Romesberg. You're blocked. Chris Romesberg 6909. Beware of this cyber stalker. Scott Robello also goes by Bubble Mix Remixes. You're blocked from the channel. Don't resubscribe. Don't even try. Your comments have been removed. I don't accept derogatory comments. You can certainly disagree with me. But when you start reporting that because I repost a video that I'm schizophrenic for reposting a video, what's wrong with you people? But anyway, reported to YouTube for cyberbullying, harassment, whatever it's called there. You're both reported. Don't come back. And give a heads up to all you people out there that we've got 2 cyber stalkers. Oh, there's another one. There's another one goes by. I just posted it. Because this one is stalking me on other channels. They follow you around when you comment on other people's channels. Fat Zach, also known as Fontana Boy Scouts. I don't know. He might be one of those P people, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I'm trying to see what else here. Yes, the criminals overnight damaged the porch of my chicken coop. They like to use a pick or something like that. So they picked into the wood to cause the wood to chip on the porch. It wasn't there yesterday, and it was done overnight. And there are perps on Quora, guys, that are trying to discredit real targeted people by harassing them, being a provocateur, etc. But anyway, I wanted to read you a quick article. And before I do, now this was back in January of last year, and some of you weren't subscribed to my channel. I did a 3-part series. It should have been 2 parts, but you know, my phone went out because these criminals like to play with it. A 3-part series on private investigator David Lawson, Cause Stalking. The book is out of print. But I was able to find some of what he wrote, and I read it out loud. So it was January 3rd, January 4th, and January 7th of 2023, parts 1, 2, and 3. And the reason I mention it is for those who are interested, and also because what I'm going to read next is an article that was written August 15, and I'll read it to you now. Number 1, identify. Number 2, vilify. Number 3, nullify. Number 4, destroy. Community organized stalking ops, exposed by David Lawson, private investigator, and Eleanor White, targeted individual. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see this, that my phone is vibrating. The photo image is vibrating, at least on my end. And it wasn't yesterday, or the day before, or earlier today. So Eleanor White's summary of David Lawson's investigation into organized stalking. And I'm not going to read it all. It's quite long, but I'll read a little bit of it because it's late. American private investigator David Lawson spent approximately 12 years investigating stalking groups in the United States and Canada, mainly in the 1990s. He wrote about his experiences riding with these networked community harassment groups in 2 books. The first was released in 2001, was Terrorist Stalking in America, and that book is now out of print. Lawson then produced an updated book on the same subject in March 2007 called Cause Stalking. The community-based counterpart, organized stalking, is not as well known to the average member of the public. This paper is to share some of David Lawson's findings so the reader can begin to grasp what appears to be a relatively new type of crime. So new, in fact, that targets of organized stalking have great difficulty getting law enforcement officials to take it seriously. Well, that's because they're involved. They know it. They know what's going on. They don't know everything that's going on because they're told to butt out, and they do butt out, and they shouldn't butt out. Before sharing David Lawson's findings, it should be pointed out that the Lawson's book contained 2 types of information and his observations and his conclusions. David Lawson's observations of the activities of the community organized stalking groups are a perfect match for the types of harassment reported by organized stalking targets. However, Lawson's conclusion as to who is mainly responsible are puzzling to targets who have read these books. David Lawson claims that foreign terrorists and anti-government groups are responsible for the growing organized stalking crimes. Very few targets of organized stalking see evidence that Lawson's conclusions match the target's experience. And Lawson may have discovered these groups operating when he rode with the harassment groups, but anyone interested in finding the backers of local harassment groups would do well to suspend judgment on Lawson's conclusions. Well, there are many people who say that, the local people, they're funneled into groups that are possibly overseas. I mean, what is FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act? So, it's very possible that there are one or two big groups that are in other countries that are manipulating or funding, a lot of these groups. So right up front, targets of organized stalking report lies, big bold print, circulated about the target are what fuel local hatred for the targets. One of the favorite lies being circulated is that the target is a child molester. This is routinely used against female targets as well as targeted men. Other lies are that the target has a serious criminal record, or is into the drug trade, or is a prostitute. For those reading this paper who aren't familiar with organized stalking, keep in mind that the obvious answer to why would people harass targets who are nobodies is that once lies are circulated that the target is a major criminal, that target is no longer a nobody. And my opinion is, we had a well-known pedophile in Manalapan, New Jersey, that lived not too far from where I did, and not too far from the local library, but they still lived there. Now, they were released into the custody of a family member. Everybody knew that person, where they lived, but nobody bothered that person, to the best of my knowledge. I didn't even give it a second thought. After we realized, who the person was, nobody even, to the best of my knowledge, bothered that individual, who was older at the time. So, let's see. Other cases concur that when the target is in line for a large inheritance or has turned in a well-connected spouse for criminal activities such as pedophilia, sometimes the target just kicked off someone who is well-connected to groups willing to do organized stalking. It seems to happen a lot when people are going through divorces, too. According to David Lawson, some targets are simply chosen for practice. Here below are selected quotes from both David Lawson's books, starting with a concepts table for quick click access to relevant sections. Okay, police awareness of organized stalkers. How David Lawson got involved. Characteristics of stalker recruits. Quotes from the stalkers. Stalker motivation statistics. Involvement of firemen and police. Absolutely involved. Stalkers' attitude towards their cause. Stalking group leaders. Stalking group finances. Distinction, initial reasons versus ongoing reasons. Lawson's targeted group list. Sampling of stalking operations. Perps use adjacent apartments or homes. Synchronized sounds. Stalkers' entry into targets' homes. Failure to recognize organized stalking. Vehicular harassment. Harassment on foot. Destruction of relationships. Noise campaigns. Synchronized movements in apartments. Synchronized leaving home. Conclusion. Well, I'd like to add, there's a lot more to that. A lot more. What about the thefts? They talk about illegal entry into target's home. What about vandalism, theft, poisoning, food poisonings, pet harm, kicking animals, using their litter box, scraping their toys, ruining blankets? I mean, there's just so much. It's ongoing. It's off the charts. So some of the quotes from David Lawson's book, Cause Stalking, are as follows. On page 79, I also spoke with a few police officers from around the country. They confirmed the existence of stalking groups across the country in general. They said that cause stalking is primarily a civil problem where the plaintiff has to prove financial loss. That is their telltale go-to civil problem issue. It's actually, stalking is a criminal act. It's not a civil problem. They also said that there are free speech and grassroots issues involved. In fact, the police themselves are targets of these groups. In small towns, a number of members of these groups can easily exceed the number of police officers. I believe that. In general, the police will not talk about stalking groups. One officer did say that there is a storm brewing as groups become larger and more numerous. Author Lawson explains here how he got involved and began to interact with cause stalking perpetrators. He says, one day several years ago, I was sitting in my house and checking out the activity on my scanner. I heard a woman say that she was following a certain vehicle. She gave the location, make and model of the car, and the license plate number. A few days later, I heard the same woman on the same frequency, number 84, request backup at certain location. A few days after that, I again heard her broadcasting the position and details about another vehicle she was following. I listened to other people talking on that frequency, and they didn't have any indication that they were with any government agency, but they were talking about arresting people. On another occasion, on the same business band frequency, I heard someone complain that an African American man was crossing the street. All we could get him on is for jaywalking, quote unquote, responded the leader. Leave him for the police. These people need to get a life. It sounds like they didn't make it into the police force, and this is the only way that they can get some attention and accolades for themselves. He said, at the first meeting I attended, one young man flashed a phony police badge at me. No one paid any attention. Some of those in attendance were the people that I had seen in the local restaurant. This was my introduction to the creepy world of anti-government extremists. David Lawson goes on to explain that he has observed extremist groups for several years while living in New York State, Florida, and Canada. He monitored the stalking group's public communications, attended communities, and rode with them. Well, a lot of this is actually, I read this in my part 1, 2, and 3. The author defines the basic reason for being these citizen stalking groups as cause stalking. Cause stalking means that the group is assembled under a leader with a shadowy past for some specific cause. Cause stalking has been used by extremist groups since the early 1990s, and the basic system is alleged to have been developed by the Ku Klux Klan and refined through the years of use. Some details about the typical cause stalking recruits tend to be blue-collar workers who are often the bottom of the end of the job scale. They are janitors in apartments, hotels. They have keys to get in any locked doors. They're security guards who can let fellow members into places where they would normally not be allowed to go. They're city workers who can, in many cities, follow a target around all day in their vehicles or have a noisy project underway near the target's residence. There are taxi drivers who network. They're always on the road. They're the cable, telephone, and electric company employees who can interfere with the target's service and spend time on patrol with the group